Good morning, Hatfield. Welcome to the December 18th meeting of the Selectmen at Memorial Town Hall. We have a few items to go over today, but I just received a letter from Edward Etheridge, who is an attorney in Northampton, and this is a request for zoning change amendment of zoning map at 123 North Hatfield Road. Pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, Gregory J. O'Master and Darlene M. O'Master, owners of property at 123 North Hatfield Road, by deed dated October 25th, 2012, and recorded in the New Hampshire County Registry of Deeds on November 1st, 2012, in Book 11103, Page 2, Assessor's Map 211, Lot 30-0, requested that the zoning map of the town of Hatfield be amended by changing the frontage portion of the property at 123 North Hatfield Road, map 211, lot 30-0, from the current rural residential and including it in the light industrial zoning district, which is the present zoning district of all the property except the frontage portion on North Hatfield Road. So we have that, and we will turn that over to the planning board. Anybody else have any public announcements?
Yes.
Go ahead.
One reminder, Sunday evening, the Luminarium here at Memorial Town Hall. And the second, more mundane operating budgets are due. Please get them in. That's it.
All right, I'd like to have a moment of silence for what happened in Connecticut here. Very important, very tragic. Thank you. Thank you. I'd also like to add that at some time in our meeting today, I'd like to bring up a possible meeting between the school, Board of Selectmen, and emergency services to discuss further, to make sure our schools are secure and everything else is going on track here, and what further more we can do if something like that happened in our town. I'll bring that up under new business.
Okay. All right, is anybody here for community forum? Chris, could you get up here?
Here's the mic.
Ed, could you move your mic?
Yeah, better? Yeah, better, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. How's that, better?
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning, folks. My name's Christopher Smith. I'm a member of the Energy Committee, but I'm not speaking as a member right now. I think it's apropos that as an owner of a solar PV system and the issues that have been before this community, that I address some things that folks have come up to me and said, am I worried about cancer? How do I sleep at night with the inverters running? A number of issues, health, safety, and so on. So I thought I would give a brief history and understanding of solar electricity. After attending events such as the master plan and planning board hearings regarding a proposed solar electric farm for a portion of the Boyle Farm on Chestnut Street, I've come to realize that a large number of people in town do not understand how solar electric and solar energy works. Unfortunately, it also seems to be human nature to fear what we don't understand, and worse still, to believe unfounded and unscientific information as fact. There are currently two popular types of solar energy that are used in Hatfield, and you will likely see these in the form of collector panels on the roofs of homes and businesses. Both of these types have been available since the 1970s, and most are still in use today. Up until recently, solar thermal or hot water systems were the most popular. Beginning in the late 1970s, these systems were sold to offset the cost of domestic hot water and heating. The collector panels use either a glycol or oil solution that is pumped through them and sent to heating coils in a holding tank, usually located in the basement. Because these systems require regular maintenance and special fluids, some systems fail over time. However, many systems today are still functioning perfectly and will continue to do so as long as they are maintained. The second popular solar energy system is known as solar voltaic, or solar PV, or solar electric. The collector panels look similar to those of the hot water systems, but they are actually very different. The panels is a series of solid circular silicon wafer cells about 3 to 4 inches in diameter and about 1/4 inch thick, and adhered to a black board that measures 3 feet by 4 feet roughly, covered with a special ground glass to absorb sunlight and sealed in an aluminum frame. These panels have no moving parts and require no maintenance unless the glass gets dirty beyond what an occasional rainstorm will remove. By itself, a solar electric panel produces very little electricity, usually no greater than 300 watts. They are designed not to get hot or cause glare, can be handled without gloves or special equipment, and are warranted for a minimum of 25 years. There are many large and small solar electric systems in Europe and California that are over 40 years old and still produce 100% of their rated output. This includes the system that was put on the White House by President Carter in 1979 and shipped to a college in Maine by President Reagan. The sole reason why solar energy, specifically solar electric, did not become more prevalent in the U.S. since the energy crisis of the 1970s was not because it was dangerous, untested, or found not to work. It was just too expensive. In 1956, the first solar cell was made available to the public at a very expensive $300 a watt. By the early 1970s, Dr. Elliott Berman, with help from Exxon Corporation, designed a significantly less costly solar cell, bringing the cost from $100 a watt to $20 a watt. Today, it is less than 80 cents per watt. In 1973, the University of Delaware built Solar One, one of the world's first solar voltaic-powered residences. The roof-integrated array fed a surplus power through a special meter to the utility during the day and purchased power at night. This is the model used today by solar PV electric systems. The first solar voltaic 1 megawatt scale solar farm went online in Hesperia, California in 1982, developed by Arco Solar. In 1983, Arco Solar dedicated a 6 megawatt photovoltaic solar farm in Central California. By 1999, the cumulative worldwide installed capacity was only 1,000 megawatts in the world. Even in 2006, when I put my own solar electric system on my roof, I could not have afforded to do it without state and federal help through grants and tax incentives. And even then, it would be 9 to 11 years before the system is fully paid off. Today, the cost of solar electric systems is a very different story. Last year, when Hatfield participated in Solarize Mass, the program cost per watt was $5 installed, almost half what I paid in 2006. And only a year later, in 2012, it is almost half that amount again at about $2.75 a watt. The price just keeps going down each month. Even with a drop in value of SRECs, which are solar renewable energy credits, because of the rapid increase in the amount of small solar and solar farms going online, the return on investment is still less than 4 years on average. Massachusetts is well on its way to having 250 megawatts of solar electric online by 2017, and even then, it will be less than 5% of the electric demand we use. We still have a long way to go to achieve energy independence. Currently in town, there is a new website and lawn signs by an anonymous concerned citizens group called protecthatfield.org. The title is intended to elicit fear that the town is threatened by solar electric installations. The anti-solar propaganda is strengthened with words to depict dangerous conditions, describing installations as power plants instead of the commonly referred solar farms. The website suggests, without scientific reference, that solar electric will cause cancer, 24/7 noise, increased townwide temperature, fire danger, magnetic fields, forced government easements. Vulnerable systems will be subject to new and untested technology, devalued property, and wholesale destruction of Hatfield's rural character. Is there any truth or basis of fact for the information supplied on the Protect Hatfield website? Is solar PV actually dangerous or even a bad neighbor? Is there a difference if solar PV is installed on a building or in a field, and is it a threat to Hatfield's rural character? A 2008 University of Oregon study on solar electric safety stated the following: installed silicon-based solar cells pose minimum risk to human health or environment, according to reviews conducted by the Brookhaven National Lab and the Electric Power Research Institute. Because solar panels are encased in heavy-duty glass or plastic, there is little risk that the small amounts of semiconductor material present can be released into the environment. In the event of fire, it is theoretically possible for the hazardous fumes to be released, and inhalation of these fumes could pose a risk to human health. However, researchers do not generally believe these risks to be substantial given the short duration of fires and the relatively high melting point of the materials present in solar modules. Moreover, the risk of fire at ground-mounted solar installations is remote because of the precautions taken during site preparation, including the removal of fuels and the lack of burnable materials, mostly glass and aluminum. The strength of electromagnetic fields produced by photovoltaic systems do not approach levels considered harmful to human health, established by the International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection. Moreover, the small electric fields produced by photovoltaic systems rapidly diminish with distance and would be indistinguishable from normal background levels within several yards. Finally, is the question of whether a large field of solar panels should be called a solar power plant or a solar farm. Solar collector panels, like plants in a field, absorb sunlight and convert it to energy. Solar cells are actually grown. This conversion process has no moving parts, and even in a large installation, solar PV is not only safe and quiet, it provides abutting properties with renewable energy. Like farmers, solar farm owners are at risk, and should there be long periods of rain or snow cover, such as the winter of 2011, or in the year when a volcano, such as in the Philippines or Oregon, should occur. A power plant is distinctly different, in that the fuel, whether it is coal, oil, gas, or nuclear, is not weather dependent, and unlike solar, is actually very dangerous to health and property in so many ways. Not to mention, power plants are built to a much larger scale, usually about 30 megawatts and more. Not 1 kilowatt to 8 megawatts of solar like solar, wind, and hydro installations are. I'm getting there. In addition, solar farms are not permanent. Field leases are normally set to 20 to 25 years. This is not because the solar PV will stop working. It is because it is likely the technology will change, at which point the solar system will be removed and the field returned to open space. On the other hand, 30 or more new homes are not only permanent, but burden the town with the cost of schools and services, whereas a solar farm pays taxes without any demand on town services. As to rural character, I encourage any concerned citizen to visit the Citizens Energy Solar Farm in Whately on Christian Lane. You will likely drive by and not even see it. So you will want to look for the Whately Fire Station with several homes nearby. You won't see any solar panels. What you will see is behind the station there is a 10-foot high wooden fence and numerous arborvitae trees. Take some time and listen. Talk to the residents. Try your cell phone. Use your laptop. And I believe you will find what Dave Elvin from PVPC said to be true. Properly installed solar PV is the second best neighbor to any other property use aside from open space in any community. And I would say, just yesterday, the state of Massachusetts just released their own study. Again, it was 6 months late, but it agrees with everything I just said. I would ask that the selectmen put the PDF up on the town website, and I would ask the folks at protecthatfield.org to also do the same. Agreed? Thank you.
Chris, we're gonna need a copy of what,
I have a copy.
we have a copy? Okay.
Oh, no, his comments, I'm sorry. I thought you meant
Sure.
CEC.
Thank you, Chris.
There's some chairs in the other room here.
So just to expand on Jeff's mention of the luminarium.
I didn't know you would be here, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Excuse me, I'm gonna see if I can get some more chairs for these people.
okay.
Door's open. Go ahead.
Alrighty. So it's this coming Sunday, the 23rd, and it's actually the 32nd annual luminarium. And at the Congregational Church, the 17th annual Bell and Choral Concert, which this year, I'll go through the schedule. 4 p.m. coffee and Christmas cookies at Cat Blanc, that's new. 5 o'clock refreshments and holiday story time at the Hatfield Public Library. 5:45 townwide candle lighting complete. 6 o'clock holiday program at Town Hall featuring caroling with the Smith Brass Ensemble and concluding with a visit from Santa. If folks have never been to that before, it's a small town wonder, very worthwhile attending. And then at 6:45, the Congregational Church, which features the Joyful Ringers, the Handbell Quartet, the Hatfield Community Choir, Green Street Brew, Nick Brady Guitar and Songs, Lynn, Ann, and Michael Parsons Songs, and Champ Dickinson and Martha Sis Guitars and Songs. Invite everybody to come, everybody to participate townwide. Even if you live out in the sticks, light some candles for your neighbors, yourself. So that you feel part of Hatfield's night to shine. Okay. Oh, and officially asking Jen to come and be the speaker on behalf of the selectmen.
I'll be there.
About 6-ish, well, a little before if you can. And just wondering if anybody can take some pictures. The paper always asks me for pictures from last year's, and I never have any. So if anybody has any pictures that are really good of the luminarium evening, let me know. Thanks,
Peter,
Mike.
one question.
Yeah.
You've got 5:45 down here, townwide candle lighting complete.
Complete.
I've been asked a number of times, what time do they start to light the candles?
Whatever time you need to start lighting them, so that
Well,
you're
you
done
don't have
by
to tell me, tell them.
so that you're done by 5:45. That's the sort of official start time of the lighting. So if you've got a long driveway, you might need to start earlier.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, I guess we're all done with community forum. Let's get into our minutes.
Motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 27 November.
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve Board of Selectmen minutes of 4 December.
Second.
Motion made, second, all in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All right, next we have the planning board, PV and PVPC proposed bylaws. Bob, if you'd like to come up here.
I'm also supposed to do, appointment to their board.
Okay.
3 things. Bylaws, solar bylaw, appointment.
Planning Board has been working with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission through a grant to update the zoning bylaws, and what we've compiled is a mixed-use development bylaw along with a mixed-use overlay district. And the mixed-use development would allow just that, mixed use, residential and commercial uses combined in the overlay district, and for the most part there are, shown on the map, it's a little hard to see because it's only 11 by 17. There will be a bigger one, but we have at the south end of town on Route 5 in West Hatfield is an overlay district. There's a small district in the town center on Main Street, and the third area is in North Hatfield, where Depot Road crosses in that neighborhood. And those are the 3 districts which would allow mixed-use development.
Did you want to hold questions till the end, or as we go along,
I
or?
think Mr. Curtis from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is going to expand upon what I'm saying, and between the two of us, I think, yeah, maybe it'd be best to hold the questions to the end. Okay. The second proposed bylaw is a green development performance standards. And the purpose of this is to encourage high-quality developments that preserve and enhance the natural resources of the environment, to include preserve and restore wildlife habitat, farmland, and natural site features. Some more documents to pass down. Encourage reuse and recycling, promote the use of alternative transportation, including walking, bicycling, that sort of thing. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions and minimize the use of potable water. It is, in fact, what it says, green development, that is less impact on the environment. And again, that would be a completely new section in the zoning bylaw, section 10.8. Mr. Curtis.
Thanks. I'm Chris Curtis with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. We've been working as a consultant with the Planning Board on both of these bylaws, and I want to just maybe expand a little bit on what Bob has said, starting with the mixed-use development bylaw. The purposes that we were thinking about for this bylaw were focusing on economic development, creation of employment close to people's place of residence, allowing for a mix of housing and business uses in an overlay district, and creating or expanding on village centers with compact uses and pedestrian friendly features. Bob mentioned the districts. There, I guess, are really 4 of them that we had talked about. Hatfield Center. The other one is that we didn't really specify is the Bridge and Prospect Street area. That's a very small district near the Hatfield Center. And then West Hatfield out on Route 5 and North Hatfield. It's an overlay district, meaning that it's a set of zoning regulations that gets placed over the existing zoning. The existing zoning stays intact, and these new regulations are in addition to what's there. So essentially we're allowing new uses that weren't previously allowed in these districts. There aren't new prohibitions that go with this, so it's not a restrictive bylaw. It's a bylaw that allows something new to occur. It's a special permit with site plan approval process from the planning board. And in a mixed-use district, you can do 2 or more of the following types of land uses: residential, retail, entertainment, office, or institutional uses. And they would be developed in a compact village form, trying to follow sort of the existing village pattern that Hatfield has long and well established. There are also a set of performance standards in the bylaw to protect the neighborhood and adjacent uses. So there are standards for things like access and traffic impacts, noise, vibration, odors, lighting, storage, parking, appearance and architectural design, waste disposal, loading, unloading, vehicular access, signage, landscaping, and screening. So a pretty strong set of standards to make sure that the uses that would be developed under this bylaw would be done in a way that would protect the community and the character of the area. And the last thing in this ordinance or bylaw is that there's an optional affordable housing bonus in it. This is not mandatory, it's optional. If there, in a new development, there were 10% of the units designated as affordable, and these would be units that would have to have restrictions on the resale cost and the rental cost of the unit to make sure that they remain affordable. You can receive a bonus of 25% additional dwelling units above the currently allowable density in the mixed-use project. So that is the gist of the mixed-use bylaw.
Before you go on,
Yep.
just a couple of questions.
Sure.
I thought it was well done, except for the locations you've identified. I mean, you've only identified these 4 very, very small areas. For example, the town line with Northampton up to Linseed Road, which is largely built out already. The center of town, there's very little opportunity there. There's some, but at the corner of, what's it, West Street and, I can't think of up in North Hatfield. Why? I just can't see the bonus from this when the areas you're talking about for the overlay are so narrowly defined.
Well, we did do a fairly extensive mapping exercise, and the large map, it's a little difficult to see.
Well, I'm just looking at this.
Right. When we have a full-scale map, we looked at the areas that were had an existing development pattern with compact uses already in place, so that we would be more or less replicating that pattern. We looked at environmental constraints of the landscape areas where we would not be rezoning, for example, a wetland area to be used for mixed use, which would be impractical and most likely wouldn't be developable in the first place. So we sort of focused on those areas that had existing infrastructure, sewer and water, although the North Hatfield area does not yet have sewer and water. That would have to be in place.
We're still working on it.
Before the mixed use would be permitted in that area. And had the ability to create a sort of a compact sort of use that was in keeping with what was already there. We think that there is a pretty good ability to do compact mixed uses in a relatively small space that would provide a pretty significant amount of growth. The other thought in this is that once this area gets built out, there could be an expansion and simply through a zoning map change to add additional areas. But we wanted to focus on those areas that seemed like the most appropriate first.
You made the comment, you added wording to the existing, okay? Will you guys, upon presentation at your public hearing, I guess, divide that up into like 6.62, what the existing was, and then highlight the wording that was different in there, so we don't have to go and start reading everything all over and highlighting? You follow me?
Everything that you have in front of you, section 6.6 is all new wording. So the entire text here, it adds a new section.
Okay, so you're not just
6.6.
adding to the paragraphs that are there, you're
Correct.
creating all new.
Section 6.6, and I have it in my brief, is really a small section in the zoning bylaw. So that's going out and being replaced with this
Okay, 'cause
in its entirety.
Okay.
With this bigger,
I just want to make it easy for
Expanded.
everybody when we go and sit at the table, that, okay, this is the understanding. If you've just changed the wording is one thing, okay, or you added wording was one thing. But if you're changing the whole paragraph, then that's a whole nother.
Right. Yep. I think it's accurate to say everything that you see in this section 6.6 is all new.
Okay.
Well, just to tag on what I said earlier. One, I fully support the mixed-use development bylaw. I think that's appropriate, and it deals with some of the issues that came up when we started talking about improvements and development along Route 5 and 10 and West Street and Hatfield. My only concern is we've so narrowly defined the opportunity areas here that,
we focused on the areas of opportunity today,
yeah.
and again, we can expand upon that. There is some white spots in there, but for instance, in North Hatfield, the cemetery is there. Well,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be included in it.
That would be a big,
certainly.
nice place to have a
There is
quiet
some
house.
nice, there is some nice vacant parcels that are pretty good sized parcels up in North Hatfield. There's always room for additional stuff at the south end of town in West Hatfield. So again, we focused on the places that were opportunities today, and as those either get built out or we feel there are more opportunities along that corridor or in the Main Street area, we can always expand upon that mixed-use overlay.
So I guess another question I have here is the mixed-use overlay. Does that affect the existing,
No,
the way it's zoned right
No,
now? This
no.
is just addition to?
right.
That's
Correct.
right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, this is, if someone proposed mixed use, then this section would kick in if they wanted to do something under the base zone, and most of it is business or some town center business. The base zone would be the rules to follow.
Okay.
Should I go on to the green development performance standards?
Yep.
This is a new set of standards that would apply to a number of different uses going forward. The goal of these standards is to really encourage the town's future growth to be greener in nature. In other words, protecting natural resources in the development process, things like woodlands, farmlands, and water resources, reducing the amount of site disturbance that occurs in a development project, minimizing clearing, conserving energy and water, promoting the recycling and use of renewable energy, minimizing car use and reducing pollution, and incentivizing green practices in building design. There's a process laid out here for the implementation of these standards, and there's really 3 different levels of these standards. The first is a simple site plan review process that applies to single-family and two-family uses. And basically, it's just a short list of standards that's a prerequisite to a building permit. There's no public hearing required for those uses, and the planning board does this review. And the new uses would simply need to try to address these standards to the maximum extent feasible. The second level of review is for commercial, industrial, and multifamily residential uses. And in that case, there's a more detailed set of standards and a site plan approval process and with special permit from the planning board, which ties into the existing process that the planning board already does for these uses. So basically, we're adding a set of standards that goes along with what they currently do. The planning board does hold a public hearing for these larger uses, and they have an approval process that they go through for the special permit. And then the third set of standards applies to residential subdivisions, and that gets implemented also by the planning board as part of their normal subdivision review process. And it's a set of standards that gets added to what they currently review when they look at subdivision plans. The standards themselves include limits to site disturbance, so limits on preserving the natural topography and drainage of the site and minimizing land clearing, maintaining wildlife habitat to the extent feasible. This is basically trying to prevent the situation where a developer comes in and completely strips a landscape and removes all the vegetation and grades it completely flat, and you have nothing that looked like the original site remaining. So we're attempting to minimize that type of damage. There are standards for tree preservation. These would be for preserving particularly large, what's referred to as specimen trees that are large and old and significant, maximizing the retention of tree stands, and using best management practices to protect trees during the construction process so they're not damaged. There are some standards for solar building orientation, which encourage buildings simply to be oriented so that they face south to the extent feasible to maximize the solar gain that they would get. There's some standards for site and context assessment, which would just ask in the design that significant natural and man-made features be considered when facilities are sited on the lot. There's some standards for landscaping and water reduction, for farmland protection, and for parking and trip reduction, including providing parking, preferred parking for compact cars and low emission vehicles and carpools. There are also some standards for pedestrian and bike access, providing sidewalks and bike racks, and links to bike paths if there are any bike paths available. Providing for handling and storage of hazardous materials, for reducing light pollution and glare, standards for collection and storage of recyclables, for management of construction waste and recovering topsoil and reusing that, and for reducing the effects of heat through using light-colored roofing materials. Most of these standards, again, are things that would come into play for commercial and industrial uses. The standards for the residential uses are fairly minimal. Similar to the previous bylaw that we talked about, there are some incentivized standards here where if a business voluntarily were willing to do certain green practices, they would get additional benefits. The incentives are offered for the use or installation of a green roof on a building, for permeable pavement, for protecting additional open space, providing for public parkland, or protecting wildlife habitat. And if that were something that a business were voluntarily willing to do as part of their project, they would have a choice of certain incentives that are listed in a table in the bylaw that include additional lot coverage, reduced parking, increased building height, or reduced frontage. And again, there's a table that sort of lays out how these standards would be employed. There's a fact sheet that we've prepared that kind of talks about the main points of this bylaw, and you also have a copy of the full bylaw. Happy to take any questions about that.
Yeah, you just made a comment about reducing frontage, okay? If they allowed for all these extra things, you're reducing frontage.
Right.
I mean, right now, we have, our bylaw says you have to have 200 feet plus whatever, okay? But when you say reduce frontage, elaborate a little bit on that.
Yep. So at the page 17 of the bylaw, there's a table of exchange standards. So if you are a developer and you protect an additional acre of land, for example, as open space, or you put in a green roof or use permeable pavement on 1 acre of parking, you have an option to get a reduction of 20 feet in the frontage requirement for your development project. The maximum reduction in frontage total that could be accrued by any of these incentives is 40 feet. So we wanted to allow for some flexibility in frontage. There might, for example, be a lot that's a little oddly shaped and doesn't quite meet the frontage requirements. This would enable a project proponent to find a way to give the town something that would benefit the community in return for dealing with that frontage problem that they might have.
Okay.
There's an ongoing debate in the town, and not only now, but it will certainly continue, about development versus non-development. And quite frankly, the town needs to strike a balance between those two extremes. And this, to me, in many respects, is kind of over the top and very supportive of absolutely no development. Here we have such picky things as if you're going to build something near an agricultural field, you got to put up a 4-foot fence. Give me a break. It's going to dictate the orientation of your house if you're going to build a unit. I mean, some of this stuff is just over the top. And I realize we'll have a public hearing and folks can say their piece, but it certainly dictates how, to an extreme, how people can use their land. And again, there needs to be some control, but it needs to strike a balance between the fact that the town needs some development to increase its tax base. It needs multifamily homes. So we don't have the 200-foot frontage eating up farmland with single-family homes. And this, to me, strikes, really makes it more difficult as to what land you could even use. I think it's very, very heavy-handed, but that's a personal opinion, and we'll have some debate about that in the future.
And one of the things that caught my eye was, or what I heard, is the fact that when you're going to require the building to be pointed in the direction of the sun for the solar, okay, and I think that Jeff just alluded to that. I mean, if you're in a neighborhood with all the houses are straight in a row with the street, and all of a sudden you change this bylaw, and now you got to change your house to go in the direction of the sun, that's going to look like a sore thumb, okay? To me, you take and you adjust the solar panels so they adopt that, okay? I think that's basically what you're saying, Jeff, but I caught that also.
Well, again, we used the language at the beginning of each section that the planning board has the ability to review and evaluate whether the project, to the extent feasible, can achieve these standards. So it gives the planning board a fairly high degree of flexibility to evaluate whether it's reasonable or feasible to do that. In many cases, what we're really looking at in terms of orientation of buildings is when a subdivision set of roads is laid out before you have the situation that you're referring to where the houses are already built and they already are facing a certain direction, that the subdivision road can be oriented so that the houses can all be oriented facing south. And that's fairly readily done on most parcels of land, especially in Hatfield, where you've got largely flat area to work with. So I think the orientation, the solar access orientation, would come into play mostly in the case of subdivision review.
And there's one last question, and this has been going on. I've been through 2 of the master plans and everything, and each one of them I said the same thing, and there's no difference on changing your zoning regulations. When are we going to come to a definition stage where you propose a certain standard or whatever, and give the definition of what you're trying to propose here. Like you gave an analogy of what these mean, okay? Why isn't that in writing, so down the road, when the lawyers take this and say, oh no, it means this, and then all of a sudden you're in a legal battle, whereas if you define it now, the legal battle will never happen.
Well, we've certainly attempted to do that to the extent we've been able to. We have a definition section on page 3 of the bylaw, and if there are...
I'm sorry, these folks probably haven't had an opportunity to read it.
I haven't
Just
read
got
it.
it this
Right.
morning.
That's one of those.
Read it.
So any of the terms that we felt were, might be questioned or be subject to interpretation, we attempted to define here. If you look at this and find that there are other terms that you're uncertain about,
I will.
that would be really helpful to know, and we'll include those as well.
And I think no matter how fine you define it, if you had two attorneys in a room,
Two different
Oh, yeah.
opinions,
they're both
absolutely.
going to have two different opinions on
I
it.
agree with that,
So,
Bob.
and I mean, the world's been going on with that
Right.
for years, millions of years, so. We
But
try-
it
Try
helps
to
a
cover
little
all
bit.
the bases, but we don't cover everything all the time. I have scheduled a public hearing on Tuesday, January 22nd, for both of these, as well as there's I was anticipating the Omasta zone change. We'll schedule that for the 22nd as well. And
Where and what time, Bob?
it's going to be in the town hall. We'll start at 7:30 with, I think the Omasta one is a simple one. We'll start with that. We'll work with these two at, say, 7:45, 8 o'clock. I scheduled them close together because if something only takes 15 minutes, we have 45 minutes allowed for it. We have to wait that 45 minutes for the next time to come up. We can't start early on it. So we have each of these, and then we should have a solar bylaw that we will have at that January 22nd public hearing as well,
Okay.
in order to prepare for the annual town meeting.
And that will be down here or in the auditorium? Because it can't be up on the second floor.
I guess it'll have to be down here then,
Okay.
because it's accessible.
Bob, I thought you said the 23rd on that. I don't have a calendar.
No, the 22nd is a Tuesday.
Right.
Originally, I had the 23rd scheduled, but then I just changed it yesterday because I'm leaving on the 24th, and if we could continue from the 22nd to the 23rd, and I would still be here. So it's Tuesday, the 22nd.
Okay.
Is a change from last week or yesterday, actually.
Planning board, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Cahill.
Again, Mike Cahill, North Street. I was just wondering, since you guys are in the process of proposing some zoning bylaw changes, whether, and two of which involve different locations on West Street. This is one of the issues that came up when we were looking at rezoning some of that area 6 months or so, a year ago. Have you considered at all proposing a aquifer protection overlay district for West Street, West Hatfield? That was a major issue on the part of not only the redevelopment authority that was looking into the rezoning changes out there, but also the residents, given the fact that that's one of our major aquifer, north-south aquifer is running right under that whole area. People were concerned that any development, whether it be residential, mixed use, or commercial, in the future, be sensitive to the fact that that is an aquifer area, a primary aquifer that's feeding the community's water supply. And if there was ever an opportunity to consider such a zoning change, wondering whether this is now time to consider that as well.
Well, I know the well has a protection zone around it, and I don't have anything in front of me, but there are areas of protection around the well. we can take a look at it. Our plate was pretty full with these things right now. And
We've got two wells out there.
yeah, there's one in North Hatfield and one in
Right.
West Hatfield.
So that,
West
I'm
Hatfield.
assuming that
But the-
an aquifer protection overlay district would involve basically Route 5 and 10 from Northampton to Whately.
Okay, what Mike's saying, basically, the aquifer goes from the Sunoco station all the way into Whately.
Right.
It runs under, there's a big underground lake right there. So just because we have two wells, that's where we access the underground aquifer, okay? But there's nothing stopping, if we put a chemical plant and they have a big spill on that side, all your chemicals are going right down into the aquifer. It doesn't have to go through the well, it can go right down through the ground and seep right into it. That's the protection that Mike's talking about,
Right.
okay? That's what we want to make sure that doesn't happen, and that's another reason why sewer needs to be up there, so the sewer doesn't contaminate our water supply.
Yeah.
Those are issues that really need to be addressed.
Well, I think it's something we can take a look at in the future. We do have an aquifer protection district overlay. Again, I don't have the map in front of me, so I can't tell you where it is, and I certainly can't keep all that information in my head, but we can take a look at that in the future. Right now, today, our plate is full with this.
Yeah.
I would just add, as for our part, we're the Regional Planning Commission that serves Hatfield, and we definitely would be available to help you in developing that kind of protection district. We've done them for all the communities in the area. I was pretty sure that Hatfield already had an aquifer protection district, and like Bob, I haven't looked at it in a number of years, and I don't recall exactly where the map district is. But we would be happy to help the planning board with that. We have lots of experience with it, and could definitely put something together to address the concerns that.
Yeah, there's a watershed
you mentioned.
protection overlay district, but not an aquifer.
Okay,
And
so
it
it's
doesn't
for,
extend
it's for the
the scope
reservoirs?
that we're talking about here, which is basically Route 5 and 10 from Northampton to Whately.
Okay. Well, we would offer to provide that assistance.
And
whenever
the
you're
planning
ready.
board has been using PVPC as a consultant because, again, we don't have any staff
Right.
and we all have to work to earn a living, so we use PVPC because they have the expertise and the experience to help us put this together, so. We'll put it on the agenda for
Well, thank you for
next year.
considering.
Thank you.
Because it's encouraging.
You, Mike?
Are you going to, do you have a quorum? You
Yes,
making-
we do.
Make a recommendation as to a member of the board?
The planning board would like to recommend Mr. Jeffrey C. Morrison to fill the vacancy that we have on the board. And we have 3 members here, so we have a quorum.
So let's vote it.
Okay.
Motion?
I make a motion that we nominate Jeffrey C. Morrison to fill the vacancy on the remainder of Mr. Church's term on the planning board. I think it's until this May 2013 election, so it's only a few months, but we need the help.
Any second from your board, Bob? Motion been made and seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous with the 3
Unanimous.
members of the planning board.
I move on behalf of the Board of Selectmen that we approve Jeffrey Morris,
Thank you.
the planning board.
Morrison.
Morrison, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Morrison. Oh, there you are, okay.
Hiding in the back. His normal seat.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. I have to find.
Bob Wagner.
Right, next we have Bob Wagner from the CPA. Bob, if you'd like to come up here. It's a proposal for the school garden project.
Bob Wagner. Actually, I'm not here representing this Community Preservation Committee. I'm here representing the Ag Committee, the Agricultural Advisory Commission in town, which I'm the chair of, and Tom Petson is one of our members. 2 things we wanted to, one, to preview with the board, and we will get something to you more formally in January. And I, on behalf of Principal Berrios, apologize that he can't be with us today. He wanted to be here, but given the circumstances, from last week. I can see his time is being taken up at the school, and he couldn't get away. We've been having conversations with the school district, both the elementary school and the high school, about creating a school farm, which might seem a little odd in a town with as many farms as Hatfield, but there's a lot of interest in both the elementary school and the high school of developing a small farm opportunity for the students, many of who have some connection to the farm families in town, but more and more less so, to not only understand the business of farming, but also to understand the business of business. And so this would be an opportunity for students who may not have any interest in farming, but to understand what it takes to take on a business, to buy supplies, see what your sales are like against your inputs, advertising, marketing, so on and so forth. And for the elementary school, an opportunity for hands-on contact with growing things, and in particular things that grow food, which we would then like to bring into the school cafeterias through our fresh farm-to-school program, which we have in town, and actually which we get a lot of credit for. We're one of the few school districts in the state that's able to successfully run a farm-to-school program by getting local food into the school cafeterias. So, as I said, really today, it was just to preview this with the board, because what we would like to do is bring a formal request. We talked to Paul Boudreau about this quickly, and he said January would be the right time frame. But bring in a formal proposal to perhaps have a small portion of the land that's behind the cemetery next to the elementary school, when that's leased out again next year, that we get a small portion of that, perhaps in that corner closest to the Farm Museum barn, so it'd be closest to the elementary school, set aside for the school garden farm project. So we'll get something to you with some size and parameters on it, and if we need to have it surveyed out, we can. I think we can get that pro bono.
Super.
What's the proposal at the high school, Tom?
Excuse me?
Did you say both schools?
No. That would be the location for both
both.
schools. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the idea would be that the high school students would run the business part of it, and then the teachers at the elementary school would build it into their curriculums.
Super. That's a great idea.
The other project does involve the Community Preservation Act, and that's, and I did bring 2 copies. I didn't bring 3, sorry, but I think you had
we got
copies
some.
made up, Jeff?
Yes.
This is a proposal that the Ag Commission has submitted to the Community Preservation Committee, and we have previewed it with the Capital Improvement Planning Committee as well. I think everyone is familiar with the Agricultural Preservation Restriction Program in the state, where farmers and landowners can voluntarily sell a conservation easement on their land, and the state, since the late 70s, has been purchasing easements on properties across the Commonwealth to the tune of something like 65,000 acres since the program was created. We have 310 acres under the program here in town. We've not actually had a farm included in the community since, or included in the program since 2004. Since around that time, the state program is very popular and is often oversubscribed, and so the state now requires the communities to provide some match towards the purchase of an APR, Agricultural Preservation Restriction. We know that right now there's 3 applications in town. Landowners have submitted applications that have been approved to protect their property. So the state at some point is going to be looking for a match, and in our case, a 5% match. They determine the match based on the quality of the soils as well as the commitment of the community to support agriculture. And Hatfield scores well in both accounts. We have fantastic farm soils, as you all know. We are very supportive of agriculture in our community. So we need a source of funding for that 5%. The Community Preservation Act Fund, the Open Space Reserve account in the Community Preservation Act, is a perfect place. That's what, in part, that category was considered to be used for. The issue, as you know, is that with CPA is that you submit an application, the Community Preservation Committee reviews it, approves it for consideration at town meeting. It has to be accepted by the board to go on the warrant, and then it's approved at town meeting, and then the funds are made available. The challenge with the APR program is that you could have closings at any time during the year. And so we might not know that a farm is even up for consideration and could be in the situation where it might be up for closing, say in June, a month or even a week after our town meeting, which would mean that that landowner would have to wait a whole year for us to submit an application to have it approved at town meeting. Two things could happen. One, the landowner can contribute the match that the state is looking for from the community. That can be very difficult, considering that's money that the landowner is hoping to get for their easement. And oftentimes they're not offered the full amount of the easement in the first place, value of the easement in the first place. And second, if they elect to not do that, they go to the end of the queue. The state doesn't set the money aside in escrow. So what we've proposed and want your consideration of is something that Northampton has done, and that is that we actually bring to town meeting the setting aside of a separate fund of money to be used for APR projects in the future. So the town, the CPC committee, the Board of Selectmen, and the town are voting on setting aside a certain amount of money to be used in the future as APR projects come up. When those projects come up, the Ag Committee and the Open Space Committee will jointly make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen would then approve the use of the funds for the purposes of that town match. As I said, I mentioned earlier, 5% is the town match expectation. We are proposing initially a $40,000 fund. This would be a buy-down fund, so as the money is used, the account goes down in value. It's not refunded or replenished each time. So at some point, we would have to come back and replenish that fund, which would allow the town meeting to reconsider this proposal. But at a 5% match, $40,000 from the town is leverage of $760,000 from the state for a total of $800,000 worth of farmland protection in the community. Now, I can't say that all happened in a year. It could be 2 years. It could be 3 or 4 years. But it would protect somewhere in the neighborhood of, based on, if you look at the budget sheet I provided you, given the current range in values for the APR program, it would protect somewhere between 80 and 145 acres in town, depending upon what the values are in the appraisals.
Question for you, Bob. The APR funding, once you put your money, once you put your farm in APR, okay, then usually the government would give you X amount of dollars for putting it in.
Easement, right.
Right. So what you're saying is they're willing to put in as long as we put in 5% matching. Okay,
Right.
so that means if a farm or land sold for $1 million, the town would have to put in $50,000. The
Right.
owner, the owner of the farm would still own it.
Right.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're actually giving back to the landowner $50,000.
We, in partnership with the state, are purchasing that easement for $1 million, with our share being the $50,000.
Okay, and then we also lose the tax part of it.
No, you don't, because most of these properties, in fact, it's a requirement of the APR program that that a farm that applies for APR be in 61A, Chapter 61A, which is the current use taxation program. So we're receiving a certain amount of taxes based on the agricultural value and use of that land. As Chris Smith pointed out earlier, houses often demand significantly more in community services, and so they're taxed much higher, whereas the farms are taxed at what they're demanding in community services. So that does not change. You're right. It stays in ownership of the farmer. The town has no ownership of the land, so it's not a asset bought by the community, but the land stays in Chapter 61A. So the same taxes that we were getting on Monday, we'll get on Wednesday after the closing of the APR.
At 61A or
Right,
whatever it's
right.
in.
Right. And the
Okay, which is a
assurance that
great-
the land will stay in agriculture.
Keep in mind, I don't know what the reduction ratio is, Chris might remember, but it's a great difference between regular assessment and,
Well, I don't disagree with you there, but it also, that land is not asking for fire protection and police protection, and they're not
true.
sending kids to school.
but when you're talking a farm now, are you talking buildings, the whole bit?
But
Or are you-
but the farmhouses, I'll defer to Chris on this, the farmhouse, just like my house, is taxed at its residential value. That 61A is on the land.
So the land that the house and the farm, the barns sit on are actually not,
They're taxed
part
as
of
if
this.
they're residential units.
Right.
okay.
It's the corn land, the squash land, the tobacco land that is taxed at 61A, and that's what APR is protecting.
Well, the state or federal government's passing a buck here to the town to pick up the 50,000, the 5% extra. That's what's exactly happening. They're passing a buck because they don't have the money to pay it.
Well, and I think that in part, it's because the program's very popular, funding is tight, so they're asking for a contribution of 5%. So if we want to see the program work in town, that's the sort of entry fee we got to pay. But again, it's a fairly sizable leverage opportunity.
Well, protecting agriculture is part of the heritage of the community, and
Well, and it's
5%
also,
is a small,
And the money's
Small
already
sum.
available.
yeah. And it's an economic development opportunity for the community. I mean, I think, you know, we talk a lot about open space and farmland and the heritage of the community, which certainly anyone who knows what I do for a living, that's certainly really important. But more importantly, these are businesses. This is economic opportunity and development here in town that doesn't require a whole lot on our part in terms of supplying infrastructure and so on.
Tommy, you just made
you
the,
made a comment, the money's,
Yeah, the money's already available in the taxes that have already been collected.
Yeah, I think Tom is referring to
Oh.
the fact that in the CPA, we have funding available. I mean, the state, in some respects,
okay,
No,
but I thought you're not talking about using your administrative fund.
no. What he means is if we vote this through, there's money in the CPA. We're raising money from our CPA surcharge.
Right.
That this can be used for.
Oh, I thought I misunderstood then. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're-
I thought you were going to come in asking for an article at town meeting.
Yes.
To create,
Yeah,
but
but-
not from.
No, from
I-
them.
But to fund it from the CPA funding,
Oh,
from open
okay.
space, from the open space category.
So there's no additional,
It's no
Right,
additional-
it's no additional money to us, and the state in its, and Ed is absolutely right. The state is creating what you might consider an unfunded mandate. But in some respects, the state is saying, look, we're gonna give you some money from the CPA to then
They're
give back to
incentivizing
us.
you,
yeah.
I mean, you know, half of the 5% that we have to pay is coming from the state, so we're sort of
but
giving
Bob,
them.
what you don't, what maybe you don't understand is that the state's doing this all the way down the road, okay?
Oh,
All the way
yeah.
from the top to the
Right.
bottom. I mean, right now, with this marijuana law that's going in, state fund, there's no funding for marijuana law. The towns have to absorb it on their own. They passed the buck on everything.
Right, well,
So,
in this, but in this,
this
but
is
in
not
this,
okay.
but in
In
this particular
Massachusetts.
case, the state just sent us $105,000 in October to help fund things like this. So
That's
it's not,
because we went with their program.
right, so, but it's not like they're not, in this case, they're not giving us some money. And to Tom's point, we've got the money, let's use it. And if we want farmland protection in town, which I think we do, again, this is the price we have to pay to
Also, just
participate.
remember, Tom, and everybody, that this is your tax dollar that you had to put in, okay? It was voted for the funding to be there. So
Well,
it's
and
your-
that's why
coming from
we
your
bring
tax
this,
dollars.
that's why we bring this to town meeting. And if
Yeah.
people feel like they don't want these funds spent for that purpose, then they
Sure.
can vote it out then.
I just want to be
Yeah.
clear with the whole picture, because it's not like we're giving and getting, we're giving the money to whoever owns the land, and that's it. You're giving X amount of dollars back to them,
well, you're protecting a value of
and
the
you're protecting
community.
the,
Right, and I think that, so I guess I'll go back now to something Chris said in his comments earlier about the solar thing. Yes, in this case, we are providing funding to an individual. But that individual, by taking that money, is agreeing to not develop that property. And that, in the end, is actually giving something back to the community. Aside from the open space and the economic development, they're saying, I'm not going to put 50 houses on this 100-acre farm. So I'm not burdening this community in the future with 50 new homes demanding snow removal, school bus service, education. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Or on the other hand, put a business in there and you don't have that.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just to back up what Bob said, I think we go back to the previous master plan. What we learned was that, and it was knowledge to me at the time, just because you put a house and they're paying taxes, for every tax dollar you get, there's an extra 32 cents of services that is cost, or $1.32. So you have to make up for that, whether it's in farmland or in commercial development. The reason Hatfield has enjoyed such a low tax rate is because we've had so much open space and so much commercial that's balanced the situation. What you're going to see in your next tax bill is going to shock you because it's going to jump a lot. And I won't get into the reasons why. But if you want to hold tax rates down, you want to encourage open space and commercial development and keep it in balance with residential development. So a solar farm, again, when I say that, is actually contributing net positive tax dollars. 30 houses in a site that's being proposed, which is zone residential, is a negative impact. Just keep those things in mind.
So your point, your last point, Ed, if we had put a business on there, well, I think there already is a business there, in my mind. I mean, let's just look down the road. The Swazlowskis hire a lot of people in this town. There's a lot of economic activity going on these farms. So they are economic contributors. To Chris's point, it's a balance. And so you get the commercial and the industrial to help, but the farmland offsets that as well. It doesn't put in the bucks, but it's not demanding the services. So in the end, if you look at it in a balance sheet, the farmland might actually be a better deal in some cases.
Now, it's just that what we really have to be mindful is what the state's manipulating here. Okay, they're looking to get as much money as they can, and I don't have a problem talking to them about it because that's what they're doing here. They're trying to manipulate the towns into using all their money because they don't have the funds there, and they won't cut the.
Well, I don't know what they're requiring on some of these other things, but I think a 85 or a 95-5 match isn't a bad deal.
So what we're talking about here is setting up a special fund at no increased cost to the town.
Right.
Which will still provide all the right players to engage. It also permits us to act in a timely manner as situations come up where we can influence events.
Right.
And make decisions and provide the funding. And it supports a good that's valued in the community.
Right. That's exactly what the proposal is all about. And again, it will go through, it hasn't been approved by CPC yet. It's still an application. We just got them. We're having our next meeting on January 2nd. Then there's, which by the way, I will obviously be recusing myself when this vote comes up because that's the way the committee is set up. It's got representatives from different departments and committees in town. And then you all have the opportunity when it comes to place it on the warrant, and then, of course, it goes to town meeting, so it's voted on by the citizens.
So just let me get one thing clear for everybody. This article basically is giving you the right to spend the money as needed. In other words, if you get parcel of land worth $100,000, you can take the 5% out of that. If you get 5 parcels of land in a year worth that same amount, you can automatically take out that much. Now, I guess my question too would be, when do you cut it off? I mean, if you basically run out of money, are you going to start?
Go back to town meeting.
If we run out of money, with the amount we've asked for is $40,000, based on pretty much what we're being told we think is in the tea leaves out there. Say in 2 years or 3 years it's gone, I would suspect that the Ag Committee would submit another proposal to reimburse, to bring it back up to some amount. But again, the beauty of the CPC is that not only does it have to go through these steps, but town meeting can eventually say, wait, time out, let's not use it for that. we've got, the town hall, or we've got some other big project that we'd rather spend the money on.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure that
right.
people understand.
Yeah, this is not
This
a-
is a continuing thing.
This is
It's
not
just a one-
this is a one-time thing. If we wanted to redo it, we would redo it, but it's not like once you spend it down, it replenishes itself. We don't intend or don't propose it that way,
Okay.
all right?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bob.
thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Tom.
Okay,
What's
next
this-
up.
What's this solar bylaw?
Steve
We
gone?
didn't- Is that the one that we took
That's-
with the
that's-
planner, the solar,
Already covered
for
that.
the
Yep,
planning?
we already covered
Okay.
it. Yep.
The solar bylaw's gone by?
Well,
Well, it's in the works right now. That's what that meeting is about, that Bob was talking about. They had, right, that's when they're gonna get together.
So there's no further consideration at this meeting with the
No.
solar bylaw?
No, because they're basically, the planning board is running that into the show. We really don't have any say about it. So that, I thought that they would be working with you and the Energy Committee and the planning board together.
Can we ask just one question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. At the last planning board meeting, they said that the Energy Committee's proposed solar bylaw had not been sent to them from you, from the selectmen, up for consideration. Is that true?
That I'm not sure of. I don't,
What, on
we
the-
didn't send,
Could you vote?
We received it.
Oh,
Okay,
we
we just
received
received it in our
And they
package, it's
said
here.
they can't start considering it until you do that.
I move that the Board of Selectmen
That's
endorse the Energy Committee's proposed bylaw for consideration by the planning board.
Second that motion.
motion
Sorry.
made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
That's what I thought we were doing here.
Now,
'Cause it's in our
just-
package.
It was on the agenda because initially there was some talk in the planning board about requesting a special town meeting with respect to solar bylaws. That's,
No.
by the wayside, they're going with the hearing.
I just had to know if it was going forward, that's all.
Okay,
And maybe that gets clarified now.
okay.
Just want to, excuse me a second, Jeff, you're going to have to check with Louise and get sworn in.
I just did. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, he moved quickly, yeah.
Gentleman had a
We'll
question.
be up there.
Good, sir.
Yes, my name's Dan Edwards, I live on Bridge Street, and a group of us concerned citizens.
Could you just come up here,
Sure.
just so everybody can hear you?
Put you in the spotlight, Dan.
Yes, I'm Dan Edwards from Bridge Street, and a group of us has also, as citizens, put together a solar bylaw proposal, and we submitted it to Paul, who I believe submitted it to you, and Bob Bartlett also said that he was going to consider those side by side, and would you officially hand that over to the planning board so they can consider that also?
What was the name of the, I moved that,
I got it right here, actually.
let
I
me,
think.
let me find it. And we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, here it is, right here.
Is that,
This is from the,
I move that the Board of Selectmen refer to the planning board for consideration the proposal of the Project Hatfield organization, the proposed bylaw submitted by the Project Hatfield organization, is that what you call
Protect
it?
Hatfield.
I'll second that motion.
okay, motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
are you gonna have discussion? I'm sorry,
Okay, we can have discussion. Go
Well,
ahead.
okay.
This is,
this is-
again, this is
board
going right to,
business.
this is
I
going right.
understand.
We're
to
just
it.
accepting it,
We're
that's all we're
accepting it,
doing it.
and we're
then
passing it
passing it
over
on to
to-
them.
you gotta use the
The-
words without prejudice.
Yeah,
Include that in your motion.
understand that wasn't developed by a town committee. It was
No.
done privately.
No,
No
I s-
public hearings.
Right.
You
But-
understand that? The proper course, our energy committee met on this. We feel the proper course for these people to have voice is at the hearing. We're your town committee. We developed at the request of the chair of the planning board.
In open meetings.
In open meetings. We had open meetings, they could have come, they could have discussed
They
it
were-
with us. They were all posted. We had 3 over 6 weeks. If you're putting this on equal weight, you're essentially saying anybody can develop proposed bylaws in closed meetings, you're setting a precedent.
The way I'm taking this, Chris, is the fact that when they have their bylaw proposed, we have our bylaw proposed, and somebody has to look at the thing jointly here to make sure that we're not overlapping, and this is what I said, if this goes to town meeting, just the way this is, okay?
Which one is in your hand, sir?
This is the Bridge Street one. I'm gonna call it the Bridge Street versus the town one,
What are you
okay?
gonna call it, protect
The
Hatfield?
bottom line is, if you don't work together, town meeting's gonna take 3 days to get through just
We're
on one
not
bylaw.
arguing that, sir.
Okay.
We're just simply saying
And my point-
procedurally, you're saying a private group can meet privately and put their own bylaw forward without proper procedure and give equal weight.
So all we're doing
saying
is passing
you
this
can
on.
All we're doing, all I feel I'm doing is passing it on for
We're
information.
making a motion to
the-
pass this on to the
to
planning
the
board,
planning
that's it.
That's about it.
Okay.
That's-
But the
we're not
proper
accepting
theater
anything.
should be a hearing, they can present it, and the planning board can decide to take section A, section B, and put it together. I
If
don't
there's
care.
a zoning bylaw change from anybody, okay, and they bring it to us, we're gonna forward it to the planning board.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, because it's not our say as to what's going on here. They have to create the public hearings, they have to do all of that. So, in the meantime, you guys ought to be all working together here, so we don't take
We're
up
not
3
saying
days
we're
of town
not
meeting.
working. We're
That's
just
all.
saying procedurally, that the hearing should be the place where that's worked out.
Right.
Absolutely,
But,
but
again,
We represent the whole town.
Absolutely.
They represent
I
their
agree,
interests.
I agree 100%.
We are the
But all-
town.
All we're
No,
saying,
you're not.
No, you're
We're citizens.
well, all we're saying.
We're not
hold it,
citizens?
Hold it,
This side.
hold,
Oh.
Come on over here, Dad, let's box.
okay, I think this is gonna be the end of the discussion.
Okay.
The thing is, we're gonna just send it over for information to the planning board, that's it, that's all we're doing, so.
yeah, thanks.
Fine.
Steve Gahn is here.
Yep, okay, next we have, the
This is not complicated.
regionalization, I believe, of the ambulance fire. Steve gone? Could you come up here and, is Bill around?
Stephen Bill's gone
This was
till
not, that was not,
a noon meeting, so,
I guess maybe we need to clarify why, I suppose, why I'm here and what we're doing.
Okay,
I don't think we want to take any action till Bill's part of it. You know, that's the whole thing.
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead,
You're
present
But
what you
all
want.
you're basically going over is the ambulance.
I'm not I have nothing to go over. I was asked to come here.
All right,
All right, well,
this is the regionalization plan that we were looking into, and we were just, I guess, wondering if you had any kind of update or anything like that on it.
this is the regionalization plan with Whately, Sunderland, and others.
The Franklin County
The Franklin
regionalization.
County.
Yes.
And we had been approached by Sunderland
Sure you were.
to see if there's any interest here and what the board was looking for, and I thought it was abundantly clear, but apparently not, is
I'd be happy to-
given your
I'd be happy
prior
to give you-
involvement.
Yes,
just
we did
kind
have
of
some discussion.
What is the proposal, since that has not been provided us? What's the scope of services? What do you see as some of the pros, some of the
I'm not
cons?
surprised that you were approached, because as Mr. Lesko indicated, nothing's free. So what they did in Franklin County is very similar to what they did in Hadley. Was they hired out a consultant to do a plan. They were given a plan and a figure. They've bounced a number. They've tried to add inclusion of various different communities. There was the town of Conway was discussed, Sunderland, Whately, Deerfield, in various formats were discussed. We did briefly speak with some of the people up there. I spoke with a gentleman from the Franklin COG at the onset, even before they hired a consultant. And I've spoken to some of the staff up, the fire chiefs up there. We had another additional meeting. Myself and Greg had an additional meeting with some of the people from Whately, and to talk about our responses back and forth. We go to Whately 30 times a year. Maybe we're going to Whately at a minimum, I would say. So, interestingly enough, I don't see, in our discussions, there's really no benefit for Hatfield.
Can we back up? What
Sure.
is the scope of services that they're talking about?
That's to be defined. They don't have a building currently.
No, for example, are we talking about ambulance and fire?
Oh, not at
We
all.
just talking about ambulance?
Oh, no, it's strictly ambulance.
Strictly ambulance.
It'd be a 24 service, right? 24/7 from.
They're proposing a 24/7
Right.
service. Their overall budget is going to be currently. My understanding is the latest figure that's being bounced around. It's an unofficial figure, obviously. Is each community is going to be contributing about $150,000 a year.
And that's
They have a
based on-
significant dream. The consultant, I believe, quoted them close to a project startup cost of roughly $1 million. So of course, I'm sure there are people hoping to get one more community in because, well, the more communities you add, the more money, the less you can cut down on your budget impact. So my understanding is that currently the discussion is among 3 communities. I'm not sure I don't think they have joint agreement. I don't think they're all on the same page.
So scope of services is a 24/7 ambulance operation,
I believe so.
okay? And this would be housed or located where? TBD or?
Currently, the central location the central location is across the street from Yankee Candle. But
So
I'm being
South
told
Deerfield?
that they are potentially going to vacate that spot. But they are looking at a location right there. That's my understanding. That's their belief. Though there's been talk about Sunderland wants it in Sunderland, Deerfield wants it in Deerfield. They have not settled that.
What do you see as the pros and what do you see as the cons?
I see that it's straightforward in terms of delivery to the care. This is the Hatfield. It's a significant reduction in where we're at. It's significant delay in response times. I don't care if you're coming from the Whately Deerfield line. It's going to be a longer response time than the system we're dealing with now.
So what if we only talked about Hatfield and Whately merging?
We've done significant legwork to do that. It's a two-way street. I'll leave it at that for now.
The problem that I'm having with this whole thing is I've asked now, this will be the third year, I've asked for a cost analysis to find out where we're at, how much it's costing, and where the problems are, and what needs to be resolved. And the cost analysis never comes. Okay, so again,
Who are you asking? You asking me? You asking the town
I've
accountant?
asked.
Are you asking the town administrator?
I've asked the administrator when we started this. I've asked
Okay.
the director, ambulance director. Okay, and Darrell Williams, when he was here, he was in charge of the ambulance. Back then, I asked for that, never got it. Okay, so
Well, we've
never
delivered
got
that.
the figures
So-
on how this is working, so we can put it together.
If you let me answer, Mr. Lesko.
Sure, go ahead.
We provide that information. We reviewed that with the town administrator at that time. We went through that, Mr. Williams. If you didn't get it, I apologize. I would be happy to put together figures for you. I didn't understand that was a shortcoming that you had not
Paul is
received
supposed
that.
to be working on that part.
I would be
Paul
happy to work with Paul.
He's out sick today,
I
so.
don't see Paul, but I'd be happy to work with Paul. I discussed this whole concept with Paul in his office at length maybe a month ago and thought that we had sufficiently covered it.
Okay, I didn't get any information there, Stephen.
So yeah, at length I discussed this whole
It's very important for
regional
me,
thing.
so.
Well, it is, but
and
he works for you. And
why
and
I take a personal
communication
interest
is-
in this is, back in the 80s, I was the first one to help create, or actually created the ambulance. The Board of Selectmen back then appointed me to that committee, so that's a baby that's been with me for a long time, and I hate to see it fail, but I also want to keep on top of it on what's happening.
I
so
take
we don't
personal
lose
interest
it.
too, sir, because I literally care to citizens of this town, and that's the most important thing. This regionalization effort is in no way it's no way good for the citizens of this town. They want us to be part of it, sure. Why they need they'd like our license because we have a higher level license than they have. They would like a couple of our staff because we have higher level trained staff than they have. Because so they roll us in and they don't have to worry so much about their transition because they're going to have significantly more people that are trained at the paramedic level or at the intermediate level. They want our money. Why wouldn't you? If you have 3 towns and you're looking at $150,000 or $100,000 a year input, why wouldn't you want a rural fourth town in? But what I'm telling you is the plan is not, they have a really massive, they have a huge plan and it's going to cost a lot. And in terms of response times, it's not, or a level of care, it's not going to be efficient for the citizens of this town. And that's my take on it, and that's, I think, what the town pays me to do, is to look out for this stuff. We continue to look to train EMTs. We're currently part of a regional grant application because, well, regional grants are more successful. So we're part of a regional grant application. We hope that to be successful. We're working on that. Aside from that, we go do the best we can. We have a mutual aid system in place. The citizens of this town are getting good care. I have not, open to hear comments and concerns, but not getting them. It'd be fine. Communication, that the town administrator knows how to find us. Each of you know how to find us. The cost analysis thing, I'll be happy to. We'll take the budget. We'll look at what we're doing.
I'll stay on top of it, Stephen.
We don't. I hate to say, it does revolve back to the state. Medicare doesn't pay a lot. Mass Health doesn't pay a lot. The GIC, if you're in the GIC, your insurance doesn't pay a lot, because the GIC says, well, we're going to jump on with Medicare. So a lot of people need to realize that their insurances don't pay a lot anymore. So
but if Northampton, if South Deerfield, they all thrive and the private ambulance services thrive, how do they get around it?
The private ambulances services don't thrive.
Northampton.
They build their stuff on basically nursing home and Medicare calls that are regular pays. Northampton, they've done a lot with grant work. They do pay salaries out of their ambulance, but they have paramedics, they have 24-hour-a-day coverage, they have a higher call volume. Now remember, the volume has to be enough to cover,
Expenses?
Our volume covers our expenses. There's no question about that. But no, we don't have all this excess to fund all these positions. We only do 300 calls a year, and 50 of them, 30 of them are probably in Whately. It is what it is. The gentleman earlier talked about land that doesn't require ambulance and fire protection. Everywhere requires ambulance and fire protection. No one lives on 91, but I can tell you we go out there and we go to car accidents.
Sure.
So the property that they talk about requires fire protection. If it catches fire, they're going to put it out. And it is part of the town. And, I think we do the best we can. We have a good system. And I would welcome any one of you to become EMTs. It costs about $1,000 for us to put somebody through a class. So we don't openly just throw people in class because, well, we can't guarantee they're going to make it. But we've had the sign out. We've tried to recruit people. We continue to welcome people. And do the best can with what we have.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Bottom line, you're not recommending that we participate?
Not at all. Not at all. No, I don't think financially it's smart. I don't think care-wise it's smart. It's just not for us. If it was in Whately, different story. But I think there's question if whether it'll be in Whately, because I think there's question if Whately will be in.
I'll definitely be in touch with the cost
If you
analysis.
just want to read that, but I would like that back.
Oh, sure.
That's what we got from the town of Sunderland at our last meeting. So that's one of the reasons we had you come in.
Oh, yeah.
To
No, yeah.
discuss it. So. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, a quick question. Is that this town hall garage renovation, is this going to actually,
No,
speaking
that's
of...
not, because Paul is not here.
Okay,
so
just speaking
he's-
of our recruitment and classes, one of the concepts we've been trying to do is if we are successful with this regional grant, it's Hampshire County Communities. We're looking to host it somewhere, and I don't know if Hatfield's kind of central with some of the east side of the river, but it would depend on if we had a site and stuff. So I just always look at stuff like how this is coming along. It could be varied. It could be 4 or 5 months. It could be.
Because I do know Paul said before, the last time I talked with him, that he did hire Mark Schlott to do, or we're hiring Mark Schlott.
Yeah,
to
no,
do
I
the
just wonder
work
if
out
there's.
here,
That's
so.
all. It's always something. If we have a site, we can try to bring stuff in here.
Yeah, it's just a matter of
make it
trying to move things
Exactly.
along.
Right.
I thought
All right,
I thought you were going to have a site by now, but
It's okay. Listen, it's all right. Hey,
What we may have to do, though, to cut the cost down, is we may have to do the whole project at the same time.
Sure.
Okay? Before we thought maybe do half and half, but that would add more cost
I
to
bet
it.
it would.
So we may have to figure out, maybe move the police cruiser out of there and put the ambulance there and let them work on each side. give you guys some
Well, we'd
thought.
be
You
happy,
guys
you
give us
know,
some thoughts.
We want to work with
Tim-
you
Yeah,
and help move the project along.
right.
obviously.
So keep in mind that we may do the whole project, so you may be asked to move the ambulance,
Sure.
shuffle things around, and then your offices are gonna be gone.
We'll put, for the sake of the project, put the ambulance anywhere, as long as I can plug it in and keep it warm.
Well,
Really.
that's the thing. It-
You know,
we're
we'll
limited
plug it
to
in and
that
keep it
town.
warm,
We're
and
limited.
and we can look at some other options if you want to discuss that
Okay.
sometime.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I entertain a
Ambulance
motion
abate-
to just send a letter back to the town of Sunderland saying we are not interested at this time.
Politely put. Second.
I move that the chairman sign the, have key type of a letter and chairman sign it on behalf of our, on our
Here
behalf.
you go, Keith.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Right. All right, next we have appointments.
Well,
No,
there are none.
I think we just
did them with
appointed Jeff that, so that's all.
Ambulance abatements.
I move to approve the adjustment of $10,083.33 for the months of July through November
I'll
2012.
second that motion.
Okay, motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, next we have,
We still need to come back to the subject of ambulance abatements, ambulance, in that, one, we still don't have the abatement policy, and I'm still not clear myself on FRR and its role after coastal is done, this collection service.
Pushing it over to the
How,
collection.
how that's going,
Well,
how that's supposed to
unfortunately, we
play.
gotta wait until Paul comes.
I
and-
understand.
And
That's what I'm
that
saying.
should be added to our list.
It is.
What I'd like to do is maybe right after Christmas, create just another meeting, and we deal with all these little things that are out there.
Sure.
okay, the CNS truck issue. Why don't we hold off on that?
Well, let me just say, I did
Okay.
speak to, Ed and I sat in on an unplanned meeting. No decisions were made.
I was actually coming, but I saw you there, so I says no.
Why didn't you come?
Huh?
Just
Well,
a
it
chance.
should, we should have had it posted
Well,
for us,
we
but-
didn't realize,
Yeah, but we just
we never
listened.
realized there was supposed to be a meeting. We were
Okay.
just, anyway, we held a meeting. I sent you some notes as to what I understood the takeaways were from the session. And this is a follow-up to a community forum item a couple of meetings ago. Ms. Malinowski was speaking and others about some of the issues with CNS truck traffic, and this, of course, has a whole history of its own. And we did meet with representatives of CNS. I think it was their general manager and one other individual were there, as well as representatives from DPW, fire, DPW, fire, and
Building
and
inspector.
building inspector and police. About some options. Some of the things that CNS indicated at the meeting they'd be willing to take on immediately was to change the ship-to address for their deliveries. That would help somewhat. In addition, they offered up, they would pay for signage that we could get approved. The task remaining was for that group to come up with where the signs should be placed and what the text might be. The following day, I met with some of the folks from Mass DOT, District 2, and they're familiar with the history of the problem here with CNS truck traffic. Although their general policy is not to allow signs that would say CNS, for example, they're appreciated as a long-standing problem and something that needed to be dealt with, so they would consider our proposal. But what we've never received yet is from that work group, where are the locations you're talking about
they
that
were
we
supposed to, right.
shown on a map that we can deliver to DOT and talk to them specifically about these locations with this kind of context, and either get their nod of approval or disapproval. One of the things I want to disabuse you're talking about multilingual signs, or that was a proposal at one time, but as the folks from CNS indicated,
You'd have to
it's
have-
not just, we'd have to have 3 or 4 signs,
Right.
one for Russian, one for Spanish, another for Vietnamese, and so
No.
it's just a matter
They,
of,
they have one universal sign. Matter of fact, I've seen a couple of them up in the Berkshires. All it is a tractor trailer with circle.
yeah.
slats. That's it.
So,
That's, you know.
we need to get away from multilingual signage, but anyway, that's where it is, and I don't know where the working group is. It wasn't my working group anyway, but I don't know where they are on identifying the sites in the
CNS did
language.
say that what they did is on their bill of lading, I guess they put their
Bill of lading.
address, their delivery address as exit 20, what is it, 23?
22 and 24, depending on whether you're coming from the north or from the south.
Yeah,
So,
not 21, so you would automatically take them right off the exit and you're right there.
and we are also exploring some other things. The flyers. We're still talking about GPS changes and those kinds of things. But the immediate was to get some
Well,
signage.
because that bridge, that Chestnut Street Bridge has just been posted here within the past 6 months by the state. So that should show up in a refresher on the GPS. Now, because if it's, most truckers have a GPS that has truck
Yeah.
routes, not car, small vehicle routes. So it should show up in there.
Anyway, do you have anything from that group?
I don't. The
Okay.
only thing that I can tell you on my part of that group was I had spoken during that meeting that I would contact District 2, which I did. I called my representative that I'm very good friends with in District 3, who's the head of District 3, to make a call into District 2 to understand that our concerns are the signage on Route 5. He did that. He called me back, talked to the director here in District 2, and, it's a public safety issue. That's what they feel. They're willing to entertain us. Was put over to the permitting. We have to put in an access permit, which I talked to the director there. I have the access permit ready to go. Everything's made out. I need the map. The group.
Okay, why don't you take the initiative and call that a session of that
Get it
meeting,
going,
that working
absolutely.
group that was
I
appointed?
thought that the group was directed to get the map, to put the locations in there. And that's what
You're
needs to
part of
be
the
done.
group.
You're part of, so just take the initiative.
I am part of that group, but as the department head, I did my job that I said I was going to do.
No one said you hadn't. I'm just, how about
so-
taking the initiative, form the group, and
We're
let's lock
asking
it
you for
down.
extra help here.
Okay.
And I passed on to Phil the names of the points of contact out here, Rich Massey
Good.
and Bo.
Thank you. And they're willing to sit down with us and submit our application to the.
Thank you for getting
access
that done,
permit.
Phil.
All right. Annual license
But we need to
renewals.
keep this one open, as an open issue, until it gets
We
resolved.
got to sign all the licenses before the end of the year.
Right,
Get them to the establishment so they can have a,
right. They're all right here.
they're in the folder. yeah.
Oh, right.
We'll do it at the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Okay, the only one that, matter of fact, I received a call at home yesterday from the ABC about Fitzgerald's of Hatfield. It appears that we have to send them another form because there was a couple of issues. One, that they didn't name the new
Yeah, they have the old
they have the old
manager.
manager down, not the new manager.
Right.
It wasn't put into the application. That was the first thing, and then there was one other little thing, but we can vote on it contingent on the changes and sent out to.
What was the second thing? I noticed the manager was wrong, but I didn't
No,
notice.
it's not wrong. Their application to change the manager
Right.
and change the stockholder,
Right.
that was rejected by the ABCC. That was all rejected because of the back taxes or some kind of tax situation, and I.
They didn't tell me anything about that.
That's why-
Anyways, they called Paul and left him a voicemail as to
Yeah,
what.
Paul has a copy of that letter as well.
All right, so,
That action that the board.
So the old manager remains the manager. Okay.
The old manager is gone.
Well, they're just saying that ABCC has rejected the change in manager.
Oh, wait a minute. The old manager that was at the bar, the old manager, I think, is down in
Holyoke.
in Holyoke.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill, I think it was. Okay, so he's okay. That would be
Well,
okay.
anyways, we gotta make sure we got that cleared up before we issue it, but we can vote on it contingent on ABC's approval, I guess.
And RX distributors, we get squared away with Louise on that yesterday.
I was not
You-
here yesterday.
Oh, you
Squared
weren't
away
here.
on RX?
He was supposed to come in and sign a contract with Louise on back taxes and come up with a payment plan. Otherwise, if he hasn't done that, then we can't authorize to sign, or we can't give him a license until he does that.
Well, my exchanges were with Marie, who said they've tried to work that in the past and it has not worked out, and it's time not to renew given the tax issue. Now, if something happened yesterday or today, I'm not familiar
It was
with.
supposed to happen yesterday, because on the Board of Health, we were supposed to sign a license also. And I asked Wilma about it, and she said, well, Louise was working on it, so, and I haven't talked to Louise about it today to find out what was going on there, because Louise was coming up with some kind of a payment contract with them. And that forms a legal contract between the town and them, and then we would be obligated to give the permit.
Who's this for?
RX distributors. So we'll check with Louise, and we can make
Well,
it
we
contingent on.
we do not need to meet as we do not need to post a meeting to exercise our license authority. So I would suggest that we table both the fishtails and the Mark
Till we get
till we
more-
get the
more
right
information.
and
Then we just
then we could
sign right off
then we
on
could
it.
sign right off
Okay.
and do whatever's right. But as of yesterday, Marie was saying the taxes had not been paid, therefore, and they've been trying to work with them since 2009, therefore, we should not sign. But if something else has transpired,
Okay. With the exception of the two, I'd like to move that we issue the alcoholic beverage licenses, entertainment licenses, and auto.
as submitted.
Do you want to do each one, or just a group? As submitted.
Okay. Motion's been made, second.
I second.
Okay.
Okay, motion made, seconded. To,
With the exception of the two that we talked
Okay.
about. Yes, yeah.
okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
So basically, Key, just hold those licenses off to the side until we make sure they're done.
There are also additional requests here for entertainment licenses. I move to approve the application for entertainment licenses as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And there's also two requests here for extended hours on New Year's Eve. One's from Grill and Chill, and the other from
I'd like to do it
Fitzgerald's.
across the board to the pubs and establishments, opening up that we extend their licenses until 2 if they wish to take advantage of that.
So the motion's to approve the request of Grill and Chill and Fitzgerald of Hatfield doing business as Fishtails to extend their hours on New Year's Eve till 2 a.m.
Okay,
That would
but
be January
I
1st.
think what I just added the extra, the other ones like the Hatfield pub, double Ds, double Bs. Even though they didn't request it, we did it last year. We just,
American Legion, the
if they
Polish
want to
Club.
take advantage of it, they could. Or do you want to keep it specific? I guess that's open for discussion.
I have no,
I mean, I don't have a problem extending hours on license till 2 o'clock across the board. But that's
January 1st only.
to January 1st only, absolutely. New Year's Eve,
Make sure you include that date.
yeah.
all right, well,
Okay, so you want to give,
All the ones that requested it, plus open it up to the other establishments.
Polish Club, the American Legion Pub,
Yep,
I doubt the double B's, Chill and Grill, and
if they want to take advantage of it.
the all-alcohol restaurant and all-alcohol clubs. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yes, that's it. Just
All
on,
right, so,
just on New Year's Eve.
Motion is to approve operation of extended hours until 2 a.m. on the 1st of January 2013
13.
for all alcohol restaurant and all alcohol club licensees.
Correct.
Okay, a motion's been made,
Second?
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Good.
All right.
Now let's,
Phil?
wait a minute, see if we got anything else here. Application for license to buy, sell, exchange, or assemble secondhand motor vehicles or parts thereof. I move to approve the applications as submitted. Diamond RV, GNS Industrial,
For the class 1 and 2?
right.
Oh, I lumped that whole, because
Yeah, I
because
thought
it was
he-
a
I thought he
document,
did the-
I voted the whole document, Jeff, before,
Oh,
that we accept all licenses.
oh,
We approve
Okay.
all licenses.
That's what
I'm
I
sorry.
thought.
sorry, I thought we were doing class by class.
Well, that's why I asked you, you know, or do you want to do them separate? So we just lumped it together.
Are you good with that? All
All taken
I'm all
care
right,
of.
yeah.
right.
Okay.
As long as we know what we're doing.
All right, next, DPW Director. What do you have, Phil?
I just have one thing. I have an abatement for water and sewer bill. This was an ongoing issue that we finally got to the bottom of. It's at 55 Main Street. Ms. Nugent came in. Her bill, her last bill was $991, which was almost triple of what she paid. So we did some investigation. We had discovered that there was a line going out that no one had any recollection of out to the barn, past the barn, that was leaking. So she filed a nice abatement. She documented everything. So I'm asking that the board approve the abatement in the amount of $524. I went back and did all her bill research and estimated what her bill should have been without that leak, because nobody knew, no one ever would have known until the leak, till we discovered exactly what was running. And it took some time to do that, but we did find it and shut it off. So I have the abatement form right here that she made out with a letter and all the documentation. So
How have these been handled in the past? I think we have a precedent.
Usually it's, from what I understand, or from what I remember, is that we can do the sewer, part, but the water part is part of the, if it's leaking, that's, you know, if it's on our part, that's one thing. If it's on their part, they're responsible for it. I hear, you know, give us some input, Phil.
What is the past practice?
Well, the
We-
past
we
practice
have-
was- we've done it for hardship cases, and, you know, that's what I'm trying to put that into that category as, you know, she would have never known until she received that bill. We had trouble finding what was leaking there until we found that line that went out and back, and it must have just failed. So it's a hardship, and, you know, that's what I'm considering it as.
Well, I think what has to be looked at here is the responsibility comes on the homeowner. If they have a barn, if they have an outsource of water, they really need to be mindful of it and be able to shut it off inside and check it out to make sure that there is no leaks. Okay? I mean, they can put a pressure test on both, you know, shut it on, however, pressure test the thing so they can test it to see if there's any leaks. And that's part of their responsibility, so, I mean,
Well, yes, and I agree with you there, but like I said, she didn't, nobody knew until she received the bill that
Right.
that meter was running, so. And to find it, I mean, we went, Tony spent some time over there and, shut all the water down and the meter was still running, so.
Well, let me ask this. Is it your recommendation that our practice henceforward be to consider as hardship such cases?
I do. I mean, they're far and few, and, to get to the source of it took a little bit of our time.
well, I'm just giving a reminder to the public out there to be mindful of this situation, because it costs
Yeah.
all of us time and money.
I'll move to approve the abatement for the sewer portion and abatement as recommended for 55 Main.
I'll second that. Maybe with the water bills, go ahead, Paul.
Motion's been made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Maybe with the water bills that are going out, you submit some kind of a little notice in there that this could happen, and it's
Yeah,
that's
they
the
have to be
homeowner's
aware of leaks
responsibility.
because, I mean, they're far and few, but the ones that do come in, usually it's, something in the house, a toilet leaking that drives the water bill up. But in some cases, I mean, we have.
Well,
we
there's
have this-
there's outbuildings that everybody has, an outbuilding or barn on Main Street that could have water in it. I know mine's got a shut off right in the basement, so
Yep.
there's no reason you can't check the pressure. Put a pressure gauge on the other end and just see what the pressure goes down in the pipe overnight, then you know you got some kind of a leak. But it's got to be the homeowner, that's their responsibility. So are we going to put some kind of notice in there?
Yeah, we could put a
water
little
bills?
notice in there.
Okay.
To be aware. That's it, Jim, just the first page.
Anything else?
Nope,
That
that's
it?
about it.
Okay. The town administrator is ill, so we cannot go over town hall renovations, the garage.
There are a couple things we can do. In the package, I believe, this is request to CPC for funding support for windows, the windows in
Yep.
the gym area.
That's been submitted already, right?
Been submitted. The questions that were left for him, one, are these windows going to be able to be opened given the plan we're considering? And can folks, and since we're not putting in central air, can air conditioning units be placed in there? So I don't know exactly what the design is
Okay.
for the proposed windows.
See this here, the way I'm looking at this here?
Can the
Jeff?
bottom be opened? in
Is
other
the
words?
bottom, when it goes like that, it's an awning window. When it's, the dotted line goes up to a V like that, that's showing it's an awning window in there.
Okay, so it could be opened?
It could be open,
Okay,
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the way I'm reading this here.
It just needs to be consistent with,
For air conditioning.
pardon?
What do you mean for air conditioning?
For a window unit.
Oh, for a unit, the only way, if you want to put an air conditioner in this window, is you have to take the window out, the physical window, which just screws in, and then put a piece of plywood in there and cut an insert for an air conditioner. That's how you put it in this type of window. But you want the frame and everything there. Okay, you can modify it with an insert. Okay, that's what we've done it a number of times on that kind of a situation. You
Sure
want the window
doesn't
there.
look very attractive.
Doesn't
Big
look
hunk of
attractive, but
Plywood in the window
right.
for
okay.
$65,000 or $85,000.
Well, the only other thing that you could do would be to put a half a window in and the other half is air conditioner, and that looks tacky.
Yeah.
So you're trying to keep the.
All I'm
historical-
doing is raising, this design for the windows needs to be consistent with the plan for the offices, such that, given we're not going to have central air or.
I thought we were, that's what they
We're
were
not.
planning on.
that they need to be able to open their windows and
The windows will be open, but they're
Can you
awning
get a-
windows, and the
Can you get
reason
a price
for...
to cut the brick below the window so you can, the window with,
That's the problem, is with a double hung, the window's up too high, you can't,
Yeah.
you know, I could do it, but I don't think...
Yeah.
no, but I'm saying, can you get a price on either cutting the wall?
You could cut the wall in and put a
You
wall
put
unit
a-
inside,
put a
sure.
wall unit right
Absolutely.
inside.
Yeah, you could do that.
Well, again,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to solve it here. I'm
Right.
just saying someone needs to think through what it is we do
So
with the
to your-
windows, given how we're going to lay out these offices.
To
and how
your
they're gonna-
question, you can open a window, but you shouldn't put a window unit in that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Some of the other things,
Take up that, Jan, at some point.
well, another thing on the town hall renovation, we're looking for that change order contract to accommodate the second floor items. And there was some issue about scope. I don't know how that's been resolved regarding energy efficiency and fire suppression in the design, and all that really plays to what we go forward with to town meeting for an additional article, to support the renovation here in Town Hall. And with respect to Center School, I've frankly forgotten where we left it in terms of televised meetings, but we have submitted a grant request to the Department of Housing and Community Development for an assessment of best uses and an assessment of facility requirements to make the center school fit those best uses, what those costs would be. And that's been submitted. Expect an action within a month or so. Tell us whether or not that's been approved. If it has been approved, then we have to go through another application process, and will be a formal hearing on the application. It wouldn't go in until February, and maybe all things go well, we'll have final answer in March or April. But anyway, we've got some movement on center school. And while we're on Paul's items, financial schedule, budgets were due, or operating budgets were due on the 17th of December. I don't know how many we've got. Paul's not here to speak to that. But we were going to lock down the dates for our joint meeting
Well,
with
we
the
don't know
Finance
because he's not
Committee.
here.
He offered 2 dates last time. I think one was a Saturday, the 19th, and then the following Saturday. Of course, we told him in advance that following Saturday, we're going to be at the MMA conference, so that's out.
Right.
So we're still kind of up in the air in terms of locking down those dates, but we need to do that pretty soon.
We're just waiting on the Finance Committee. I mean, we came up with a couple of dates, but we're just
Well,
waiting
that
on
was
them.
the answer he got from the Finance Committee. They said they didn't really want to, but I thought he said they came back with the 19th and 26th or something like that.
Well, we can't do it the 26th. actually,
I
so
know, so.
19th, I mean, if it's on for the 19th, let's set it up.
Anyway,
Maybe
we,
Keith
we,
can set that up.
just for Key and the actions, Paul needs to follow up with Finance Committee. We need to lock down those dates. We've been talking about it for a
But if
month.
he, what I'm saying is maybe we should give that to Key right now because Paul's not here. We want to move on that. Give her that project to just get that organized so we can have some kind of a date.
We're going to do some other things here. Good.
I'll just take up a couple things in the package. The rooster problem over on King Street. Okay. I'm looking at this as no different than a dog barking constantly all night. And
Exactly.
it's up to the individual homeowner to make sure that they don't, that this stops. That's their problem. Yes, we live in a farm community, but a dog barking all night or bellowing or whatever, you bring them inside and you deal with it. It's the same thing with this rooster. If that's their pet, then let them take it inside their house and go from there.
Well, I would propose.
I mean, if that's what they're saying. They're saying this is their
I
pet.
hear you. Yeah, there's been an ongoing issue of residents living beside one another and one having roosters and the noise being an extreme annoyance, and they've been apparently unable to resolve it to some mutual agreement. But I think for us, and there's some issue about whether our own bylaws about right to farming and play here, or whether this fits under that. I would propose we have the town administrator contact our town attorney to see the application of our bylaw to this particular situation, and can it be treated, as you say, as a as a simple noise annoyance, or is it a protected activity under our bylaw?
Had they put in that they have a farm with rooster and chickens and stuff like that, then I would say there's not much you can do because it's farm animals. But when they write in here, this is their pet, and they treat it as a pet, then I look as a pet no different than a dog. Okay, if the dog is constantly barking and affecting the neighbors, then they need to do something about it out of respect for their neighbors.
Our animal control officer is simply looking for guidance.
Well, he was involved in this, and he's looking for our help.
Yeah, so I'm proposing that we have town administrator contact town attorney and determine the applicability of that right to farm.
I agree with that. Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have another issue concerning noise, zoning, about the an activity on Main Street.
I read this over real good, and this is in regards to Swarovski Farms, okay? Swarovski Farms have been in our town for many, many, many years, 20, 30 years here. They've ran that business up there. Yes, it was a small operation, but they ran it as a facility that took potatoes in. They harvested their own potatoes. They took potatoes in from a lot of the other ones, packaged it, and sent them out. So with this complaint or letter here, they have been doing the same farming as they've been doing for the last 30 years. Okay, nothing has changed. Yes, their business has grown. They added buildings to there, but the business still stays the same of packaging and sending them out. So it's nothing, nothing new in that part. All right, that I can see. The trailers, on the other hand, the noise, 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever the case may be. I did talk to Frank a while back, and he said that they were stopping the trailers from coming in all hours in the morning, and they had to be in there something like at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that's as much as I can tell you without going back and talking to Frank. But I just wanted to make it a point that this operation has been here. It's been doing the same operation as they did in the early days on a smaller level. Now it's just a larger level.
Well, the issue is twofold. The resident raises, one, the noise complaint, and that can be addressed directly with the operators. But the second issue has to do with the zoning and whether or not the current activity there is in compliance with the zoning for that particular area. And I don't pretend to be a
Now, and I'm not sure what the noise complaint really stems from failure of the. I'm not sure.
Well, there's several pieces to that, and we've heard them from other people as well. One, running the refrigeration trucks for extended periods at night. Trucks coming in and out at odd hours.
I'm 6 houses down from them, Jeff, and I have a skylight in my bedroom, and I can hear their operation. I can hear their refrigeration running. It's no different than the train tracks out on Route 5, and you know, it gets part of your routine, and it doesn't bother me at all. Okay, some people it may, but if you're not familiar with the sounds, yes, it's going to bother you. But these sounds have been the same for the last 25 years, 20 years.
I'm not
I just want
questioning
to
that.
say that, you know, the operation is still running the same, and you know, if somebody, you know, is not familiar with the sounds and stuff like that, yes, it's going to bother them probably.
I would propose, one, we refer to planning board as proper, is there a zoning issue here? Or a zoning, I guess, a zoning enforcement officer, right?
It's a zone, that's Stanley.
So I refer,
Building inspector.
I would propose we refer that issue to him. Is there an issue here or not, number one?
That would be the question.
And number two, if you're already talking to Mr. Swazlowski, why don't you at least raise with him these other noise concerns, and
sure,
so we can respond to Mr. Bates.
I'll do that.
All right.
Okay. I think that's about it, Jan.
That's about it, I guess.
This is a public hearing on the solar. Okay,
Yes.
Swazlowski, that's coming up. That's a notice here. Notice January 9th.
Yep.
Okay, are we pretty much done? I'd like to bring something on the new business when you're ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, in the very beginning, I started this about what had happened in Connecticut, and I sat at length with Chief Olsey on Monday, yesterday, talking about this here, and I'd like to see if the Board of Selectmen, we can arrange a meeting with the school committee, with the school itself, find out what the town can do as a whole to make sure we do know one thing for sure, that we are doing the lockdown test. That happens many times a year. They go in, they lock the school down. Our schools are very up to date on that. So we're very comfortable with that part. At some point I told Tom that maybe instead of giving them an advance warning, you just go over and shut the school down and see how they do on that. That way they don't even know it's coming. The second thing would be to set up a meeting and come up with perhaps some ways that we can make it better and protect the kids. I know in just our conversation yesterday, one of the ways that we can do that is to give them another, probably a 5-minute advanced warning by putting in security cameras or whatever that are monitored, that if something like this were to happen, you see it coming, you can lock it down before anybody gets anywhere, okay? You can't stop them from coming into the school. There's no way that you're going to stop anybody. If somebody wants to get in that building, they're going to get in there, okay? There's no stopping them there. But on the other hand, the advance warning, if we put in advanced warning system, whether it be cameras or whatever monitored, that's the route to take to protect our children. I'd feel really bad if this happened in our town, devastating, but we have an opportunity to look at this, to make sure we're doing everything we can to protect our kids. The other thing I thought last night is perhaps, and I did notice on some of the emails that I saw, or the internet I saw, that a lot of towns are sending their police cars over in the morning. So they make an appearance when the kids are coming off the bus, there's a police officer present, and then when they leave at night, there's a police officer present. So there's no reason I don't think we could, I mean, that would be an option here to do during that school 2 periods that somebody shows up and that they're there. Because that's when you're very vulnerable of something happening, somebody coming in and the doors are all wide open. The other thing on the school side, and this is one of the reasons meeting with them, is that I know when I did inspections for the Board of Health last year, the locker room doors to the outside, they stick a waste paper basket in it to keep them open so they can go out and come back in. Well, that doesn't help the lockdown of the school during session, because anybody can just open up the door, go through the locker room, and come into school without even, breaking down a window to get in. So it makes it easy for them. So I think the school has some responsibility here to make sure that these things don't happen. I don't know what your take on it, but I wanted to bring it up at our meeting, so possibly we could do a little brainstorming and see if maybe we can do something additional here.
Well, we asked this year Mr. Belden, as the responsible official for our emergency planning, to set up some sessions with the Board of Selectmen regarding various plans. Walk us through the organization and responses. We could certainly add this activity as you're suggesting, and I would propose, instead of trying to define what we do here, one, we offer up to the school committee and school department an opportunity to have a session on this where they can review their plans, what they see as some of the shortfalls in their plans, where they might seek additional help from the town to help them flesh out their plans, and then we could respond accordingly. And then part of that discussion would be our own emergency management folks and whatever lessons learned they have from their community.
But I'd like to do it like, as soon as possible, like right after Christmas or something like that. Because if we had to put something in a town meeting article, let's say they wanted to put security cameras in and it's going to cost X amount of dollars, then I'd want that there as an option, so to better protect our children.
Do they have a police officer there now, part-time?
He goes in sporadic. Every once in a while he'll just jump in to make an appearance there and go through the school and keep an eye on things over there. We do have him go through it, but nothing on a morning and afternoon sessions.
Right.
Well, let me just put it a different way. I would move, given what you're talking about, that the Board of Selectmen approach the school committee with a request to have a discussion about safety and procedures with respect to Hatfield school system, with the goal of identifying how the Board of Selectmen and the town might assist.
That'll solve that. I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We can see if we can get that done. First part of
ASAP.
January. If you could just make that a note to have Paul get that on our agenda, a joint meeting.
I don't even have a problem going to the school committee
Sure.
meeting. Just getting it taken care of, getting it on a meeting, just to get it done.
All right, is there anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Just like this.
Great holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy
Merry
holidays.
Christmas.
Prosperous
And,
New Year for the town too, for the whole town.
Well, we won't be back until next year, so everyone have a happy new year.
And don't forget the luminarium.
That's correct. That's
Motion to adjourn.
this coming Sunday, 2nd.
Okay, motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.